Jamming it here with Paint Your Body. Today we're going to paint a 2015 Challenger Hellcat code PFB, which is that funky lime green looking color, and it actually looks really nice. I like how it looks, so I figured this would be a good video to show, putting this color on. And honestly, it's a really cool car, so I figured, yeah, why not? Let's do a video of this. Also, I wanted to say, I switched shops about a month ago, so I started working at a new body shop. So there's a little bit of a transition, get acquainted and get used to my surroundings. But so far so good. I've been there for about a month now, and everything's going really smooth. But I changed paint lines, so I'm using a completely different system, which, it wasn't hard to get used to or adjust to, but, it's different, and, the products are different, so there's that little bit of a learning curve. But yeah, so far so good, and, I could say that I'm pretty pleased with this paint system. We're using the Chromax Chroma Premier, which I guess formerly known as DuPont. So, I went from using RM Diamond, and I switched to this system with this new shop that I'm working at. So, like I said, there's some differences, and the products are different. Some of the things work a little differently. But generally, it's pretty much the same thing, and I'm getting the same results. So it's working out pretty good. So right now, this car, it got whacked in the quarter panel. So there's a brand new quarter panel put on. I sprayed the jam earlier. I'm not sure, it might have been the day before I did this video, I think. But either way, I should have probably made a video of that too, just to kind of show the process with that, or how I did that. But this, I did edge this out, and I took care of all that. So now, right now I'm applying the sealer. This is a Chroma base sealer, or Chroma Premier sealer. And with this color, the big thing with this paint system that I've noticed is they use a system called value shade, which is basically the color of a ground coat, or the color of the sealer that you would use under whatever color you're spraying, whether it's this green, or if it's a black or a red or blue, whatever. Different colors call for different ground coats, which isn't unheard of. A lot of reds and sometimes blues, especially nowadays, call for a ground coat that's a specific color. I guess it's pretty nice with this system. There's 3 different sealers. One is a white. There's this one that I'm using right now that's like a light gray. And then there's a very, very dark gray that's almost black. And depending on the application, you can mix, a white with a gray, or a white with a black, or a gray with a, whatever. There's a lot of different options to get the value shade you want. But this color called for this this ground coat that I'm using, and so we went ahead and we put that on. So that's pretty much what's going on here. All right, so the sealer, it sat for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes while I mixed up the base coat. So I got the base coat mixed up, shaken up, stirred, mixed thoroughly, and after letting this sealer flash, I'm going to start with putting my first coat on. So I'm getting pretty close to wrapping up this first coat of base. It covers pretty good. You know, using the proper value shade, that's definitely important. But this is just the first coat of color. You know, you probably can't really tell very much from this video. When I was in the booth, you know, it's still a little transparent, but, you know, being the first color, that's really not a big deal. That's to be expected pretty much, you know, almost always, you know, depending, I guess, on the color. But, you know, another thing too, this is a solvent-based base coat. This isn't a water-based system. So we're still using, you know, our solvent reducers. It's a solvent-based coat. You know, so I don't put the air dryers on or anything like that. It just cycles through with the regular airflow and the heat in the booth. And then, you know, it'll flash off. That's what, you know, it's the same process as the last system I was using. Same thing, solvent base, you know, same pretty much procedures. You know, alright, so I'm jumping into the second coat now, letting that base flash for about 10 to 15 minutes, or let it dry out for about 10 to 15 minutes, until it looks like it's ready to hold a second coat. And at that point, you know, I'm going to jump back into it and start putting this second coat of color on. I'm using all the same spray guns and pretty much all the same, you know, equipment and, you know, just tools and whatnot that I was using before. I'm using the Techna primer for sealer with a 1.4, which is what I put the sealer on with. That's what I used to put sealer on with. I continue to. And I'm spraying my color right now with the Techna Pro Light with a 1.4. And I'm going to use the Techna Clear Coat gun, you know, what I've been using in all my videos, with a 1.4 as well. And they're all using the high efficiency air caps. They do come with, the DeVilbiss Technas, they all come with, you know, multiple fluid tips and nozzles. So you could switch back and forth if you want, or change it if you need to, depending on conditions. I've been running the 1.4 in these guns now pretty much the entire time. I did use the 1.3 in the clear gun for a little while. I don't know, I feel like I like it better with the 1.4, you know, with how it puts out the material and, you know, how it sprays. So it's more suited for, I guess, how I, you know, how I like to spray the clear on and the material. And same thing with the Techna Pro Light and the primer gun for sealer. You know, with the 1.4, it puts the material out good, and with the proper air pressure and, you know, keeping the gun distance right, and, you know, using the right activators and reducers in the paint or the sealer or the primer or the clear or whatever you're using, you know, it works out really well. You know, I feel like it puts that material on really good, and you know, I get my coverage pretty quick. You could tell a little bit in this video, a little bit you could see through that base, but with this second coat, it's pretty much covering it up. You know, I am going to follow it up with a third coat, and just to make sure everything's evened out. You know, based upon what I see, that's when I decide, alright, I'm going to either go ahead and clear it after the third coat, or sometimes you have to put a fourth coat on, or put a nice drop coat, or, you know, evening coat, whatever you want to call it. But a little word to the wise, it's really, I mean, you would think maybe common sense, maybe not, depends on, you know, who you're talking to, I guess. But, you know, good rule of thumb is if it doesn't look good before you clear it, it's not going to look good after you clear it. So before you put the clear coat on the job, if it doesn't look right, you might want to take some measures to correct whatever issues you have going on, whether it be if the color's wrong or your blend is visible or just whatever is going on. You know, there could be so many different things that happen. Trust me, do not put the clear coat on unless it looks good with the base coat on. Otherwise, you got a whole mess of problems. You know, I've heard, oh, we could buff it out, or well, maybe if I put the clear on, it'll you know, make this look better or that look better. Don't even waste your time. Don't even bother. Just fix it while you can before it's too late, before you have to respray the job, or, you know, pull it out and then explain to your boss or whoever why it looks the way it looks. You know, or you can always blame it on the spray guns or the paint manufacturer and not take responsibility yourself. You know, you can do that too, but just do it right the first time. And, you know, if you run into a problem, just take care of it and move on, and that way you're not going to have any redos, and you're not going to get tied up reworking your jobs when it should have been done the first time. So So with this third coat of base that I'm putting on now, I'm not putting it on quite as heavy. I'd say this is more of, you know, before it was like medium wet, leaning more a little bit towards wet. Not so heavy. I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to spray it on like clear coat or trying to make it lay out like glass or, you know, whatever. You know, but I am trying to get my coverage. This is the third coat now. I believe I only did 3 coats on this. It covered really well, and, you know, it looked really good. So in this third coat, you could probably tell, but if you couldn't, you know, I'm doing more of like a medium light coat. So I pretty much already have my coverage. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make sure that it all looks even. You know, I don't want any dark spots or light spots or, you know, any transparent spots or just anything. And with this color, you're not going to be able to tell in this video, but this color has a fine pearl in it. I want to say it's got a yellow pearl. I think it has like 2 different pearls in it. I want to say maybe like a little bit of a silver pearl, and it's definitely got a yellow pearl in it. But from a distance, you won't notice that, and from this video, you're not going to be able to see it. And I have a few photos at the end to show this car outside with the sun on it and everything, you know, just to kind of show what the job looked like after it was put together and finished. But, you know, like I said, it's got a pearl in it, so when checking this color, there was more to it than just, you know, well, does the green look good, this and that. You know, you also got to make sure that the pearl and the flake in it matches good as well. So a couple different aspects to this color to consider. But yeah, just kind of like just a little, you know, just a little bit of information there that this is a green pearl. You know, and it's pretty nice color when you really look at it, but you can't tell from a distance. Like I said, you wouldn't know that from driving by it, or, you know, unless you took a closer look at it. But also, you know, I'm bringing that up too because, you know, if you're not doing your overlap, or if I didn't do my overlap correctly, or getting too heavy in one area or another, you know, with a color like this, you could zebra stripe it or put stripes in it. Basically, you know, a lot of times that mainly would happen on a hood or something like that. But, you know, you could do that on the side of a car too, I guess. I don't even know if I've ever done it. But the point is you want to make sure your overlap is good and you're doing it nice and even and keeping consistent the whole way through. You know, you don't want to pull this thing out of the booth or have it out in the sun and you're looking down it and you see stripes or dark areas, or, you know, you just didn't do a very good job. You know, so that's pretty important to pay attention to. All right, so this is the final third coat, the final and third coat. I carried that blend out on the door further than the previous coats, and, you know, if you look at it, you can see the base coat on the tape there to see kind of how far I went down with it. You know, with my blends, I don't ever cut them off in the same at the same point. on the panel ever. I do it at an angle, or you could drag it out far on the bottom, not so far on the top, in the middle, and further on the top, or you could do whatever. But you never want to break off your blend at the same spot. It just, you want it to be, less of a more, well, I wouldn't say like a line, but you don't want to break it all off in the same spot, or blend it out in the same spot, because that might be noticeable as well, depending on the color and what you're doing. So a good rule of thumb when you're doing your blends, don't break it off in the same area. Blend it out in different lengths and different, a different pattern to kind of break it up so that it's not as much of a noticeable difference, if at all. Alright, so this is the first coat of clear we're going to put on. Not too wet. We just want to get it on there. You still want to get your mill thickness, or the thickness of the clear you want to be at a proper, appropriate thickness to make this paint job last. So first coat of clear we're doing with the Technic Clear Coat gun, around 25-26 psi with a 1.4 and the high efficiency air cap. Alright, wrapping up the first coat of clear. I'm going to come back in about 10 to 15 minutes, or when the clear is ready, to take a second coat. And I'm going to come back on it a little bit heavier, a little bit wetter, try to get it a little bit smoother, and just help with the appearance. Make sure I get my mill thickness and my film build, make that paint job last for years. And this is the Chroma Base 4:1 clear. It's overall panel clear. overall or panel clear, depending on the activator you use. You know, there's fast, slow, medium, you know, whatever. There's different ranges for different temperatures. I think I'm running the booth about 78 degrees or so, at least for this time of year, with some heat on. So, you know, not too warm. You know, I want to be able to spray down this clear, not have it flash too fast or start curing up on me before I'm able to finish, you know, each area or each panel that I'm spraying. So, you know, I'm running everything in with the proper activator, slow enough to where I can put this on pretty heavy and, you know, not really worry about getting any runs or sags. You know, but also so that it's curing and drying quickly enough to keep moving on with the job and get the next car in. So if you notice too in this, the jam on the trunk, or the quarter panel jam, whatever you want to call it there, you know, I really didn't spray any clear in there, and the reason for that is, you know, that's the factory look. There's very little clear, if any, in there. It's actually like it looks more like a, you know, I wouldn't say like a dry overspray, but it almost looks like a dry overspray of clear. So there's no gloss really in that inner jam there. You know, so I don't want to spray my clear in there and then have it look different from the other side. You want to spray it, or, you know, however, you want to match what it looked like before or to the other side, if that other side is the actual factory look. You know, it's important to pay attention to that. You know, this car had a pretty smooth finish on it, so that was the goal, is to get a pretty smooth finish as well. But like I said, I didn't spray any clear in that jam, really. A little bit blew in there, but that's fine. It's going to match the factory look that there was, and that's the look I'm going for. You know, there's a little look at the clear coat gun I'm using. Awesome gun. I love it. Great price on it. Sprays beautiful. You really can't go wrong with that. You know, so we'll take a closer look at this thing and just kind of get an idea and the look of the finish that it has on it now. This thing came out really clean. You know, here and there I do get dirt nibs. You know, I don't know anybody that doesn't. You know, the goal is to have none, so that's always something that you work towards. But when you get them, you get them, and you know, in the aftermath, you have to wet sand them out, nib them out, whatever, and polish it up. In this case, this came out really clean, and we ended up not really needing to buff it. You know, got assembled, washed, and cleaned up, and the customer took it and was thrilled. So here's a few photos of the finished product, just to kind of give an idea. And you know, this is in the shop. This is before it got cleaned or anything. This is just after assembly. Then there's a few shots of it outside as well, just to get an idea. But you know, I want to thank you for watching my video, and check out my other videos, and subscribe.